Your next flight may already be different from the one you think you booked. Not because the aircraft changed, because the rules around the trip are shifting. The ID check may work differently. Your global entry line may not look the same. A delay in Europe could be worth money. A nonstop route may disappear before you compare prices. And a travel bonus that looks exciting could either help pay for a trip or become a very expensive mistake. That's why this update matters. Before you book, before you check in, and definitely before you stand in the wrong line, here are the airline changes travelers need to know now. If you use TSA PreCheck and you have an Android phone, this is the change to set up before you leave for the airport. Google Wallet is now the first digital wallet to connect directly with TSA PreCheck Touchless ID. In plain English, eligible travelers can opt in once, add their boarding pass to Google Wallet, and use facial verification at participating airports instead of usually having to pull out a physical ID at the checkpoint. For people who only fly once or twice a year, that matters more than it sounds. Nobody wants another airport app, another login, or another travel profile to manage. Nobody wants a digital scavenger hunt at 5:30 in the morning while holding coffee, a carry-on, and a phone at 12%. Sounds easy, but this is the part people will mess up. You can't treat it like something you figure out at the checkpoint. After check-in, add your boarding pass to Google Wallet. If you're eligible, the touchless ID prompt should appear. Tap Agree, Google Wallet passes your info to TSA, and your boarding pass gets the touchless ID indicator. That little indicator tells you where to go next, the dedicated touchless ID lane. No digging through your bag, no awkward pocket panic, no holding up the line because your ID somehow slipped behind 3 receipts and a protein bar wrapper. Trying to set it up while the people behind you're breathing like they're late for surgery is a recipe for an airport meltdown. You also need to be eligible. That means TSA PreCheck, a qualifying digital ID, and a participating airline and airport. The good news is that touchless ID has already expanded to more than 60 US airports and works with more than 100 airlines. So this is no longer some tiny test hiding in one terminal. Still, keep a physical ID with you as backup. The whole point is to make security smoother, not to turn your phone battery into the most important document in your life. Now, keep that same idea in mind, because the next airport change goes one step further. If the TSA change is about getting through security with less fumbling, this next one's about coming back into the US with almost no pause at all. CBP's testing a new facial recognition camera system for global entry at 6 major US airports: San Francisco, Boston, Dallas-Fort Worth, JFK, Philadelphia, and Seattle-Tacoma. Instead of walking up to the familiar blue kiosk, stopping, posing for a photo, and waiting for the machine to clear you, this version can verify your identity while you're walking toward passport control. That sounds convenient. It also sounds a little weird the first time it happens, especially if an officer says your name before you even realize a camera has checked you. But for global entry members, the practical benefit is clear: less stopping, fewer bottlenecks, and faster immigration after a long international flight. Picture coming back from Europe, Asia, or Mexico after 10 hours in the air. Your body has no idea what time it's, your brain's running on airplane coffee, and the last thing you want is another machine telling you to stand still. This pilot's meant to smooth out that final step. You walk through a designated camera zone, the system verifies your identity, and then you briefly speak with an officer before leaving passport control. For people who don't fly internationally very often, this may feel different from what you remember. You might look for the kiosk and wonder if you missed a step. Probably didn't. At these test airports, global entry may simply be moving faster than you're used to. At SFO, Boston, Dallas-Fort Worth, JFK, Philadelphia, and Seattle-Tacoma, the smart move is to follow the global entry signs and keep your pace unless an officer tells you otherwise. At these test airports, the kiosk may no longer be the main event. By the time you reach the officer, the camera may have already done the boring part, so fast lanes are nice. Now let's talk about the part travelers care about even more: getting paid when the airline ruins the day. Europe's EU 261 rule is already one of the strongest passenger protection systems in air travel. Now, EU lawmakers have agreed on updates that'd make airlines move faster when flights are delayed or canceled, though the changes still need final approval. For American travelers, this matters because EU 261 can apply if your trip touches Europe. Flying within Europe, flying from Europe to the US, or flying to Europe on a European airline can all fall under the rule. If the delay or cancellation is the airline's fault, eligible passengers may be owed 250 to 600 euros, depending on the flight distance. The big change is that airlines have a much harder time playing dumb. Under the agreed updates, airlines need to notify passengers electronically within 96 hours after arrival if the flight might qualify for compensation. They'll also need to explain how to file the claim. Once you submit the claim, the airline have to respond within 30 days, either by paying you or giving a clear reason why they're refusing. The rerouting rules also get stronger. If your flight is canceled or badly disrupted and you choose rerouting, the airlines need to offer an alternative route within 3 hours. That could mean another airline, another nearby airport, or even another type of transportation. And if the airline doesn't offer that option in time, passengers might be allowed to book their own alternative and request reimbursement up to 400% of the original ticket price. One important note, these updates still need final approval, so check the rules before your exact travel date. For any Europe trip, paperwork still matters. Keep the boarding pass, screenshots, airline messages, receipts, and the written reason for the disruption if you can get it. Then ask directly whether EU 261 applies, because in Europe, a bad flight day might come with more than frustration. It may come with real compensation. Atlanta is the airport where Delta feels unavoidable, and Delta is moving closer to making its biggest hub feel even more important. With a massive Delta One lounge planned above Concourse E, more than 39,000 square feet for long-haul Delta One passengers and Delta 360 members. For those travelers, sure, that means better food, more space, and a calmer place to wait before an international flight. But for everyone else, the lounge isn't the main point. The main point is what it says about Atlanta. Delta isn't spending that kind of money because ATL is just another connection stop. It's doubling down on Atlanta as its main international hub, which points to more focus on premium and international travel through ATL. And ATL is already not the kind of airport where you want to gamble on a tight connection. You can land in one concourse, board in another, take the plane train, dodge 3 family groups, get stuck behind tourists, strolling along, and still feel like your gate moved farther away, just to be rude. Build in more breathing room? Even if you never step inside that Delta One lounge, the investment tells you where the airport is heading. Bigger, busier, more international, and probably not easier to rush through. The lounge may be built for premium travelers. The connection warning is for everybody. Delta's Austin update sounds local at first. This fall, Delta is cutting nonstop service from Austin to Memphis and New Orleans, while adding Austin to San Jose and giving Orlando more attention. If you live in Austin, that is useful to know right away. But the bigger lesson reaches beyond Austin. A weekend in New Orleans feels easy when the nonstop is there. Once that flight disappears, the same trip may need a connection, a different airline, a longer travel day, or a totally different schedule. And that can affect more than the ticket. It can change your hotel timing, your rental car pickup, your dinner reservation, even whether the trip still makes sense for just 2 or 3 days. Airline route maps aren't permanent, especially in mid-sized cities where airlines keep testing what works and what doesn't. Most travelers compare prices. They don't compare whether the route still exists. Delta isn't abandoning Austin, it's reshuffling Austin. Some routes are getting trimmed. Others, like San Jose and Orlando, are getting more attention. That tells you the airline is still interested in the market, but not every city pair is safe. Before locking in the hotel, the rental car, or the "we'll fly nonstop like last time" plan, check the flight first. The price is only useful if the route still exists. Alaska is putting more of its flying power behind Hawaii, and that choice has a consequence. 5 seasonal Mexico routes that some travelers may have expected to return later this year aren't coming back. Those routes are Las Vegas to Puerto Vallarta, Las Vegas to Los Cabos, Los Angeles to Cancun, San Francisco to Cancun, and San Francisco to Loreto. This isn't just Alaska cleaning up a route map. With Hawaiian now part of Alaska Air Group, the airline has a much stronger position in the islands. So instead of bringing back those weaker Mexico routes, Alaska is using more of its capacity to compete harder in Hawaii. If you're pricing Hawaii or Mexico later this year, don't assume last year's best airline is still the best place to start. A Hawaii trip that used to make you check United, American, Delta, or Hawaiian first may now deserve another look at Alaska. More focus on Hawaii can mean better schedules, stronger connection options, and sometimes more pressure on prices. Mexico travelers get the other side of the trade. If one of those Alaska nonstops was part of your plan, the old option may not return just because it used to exist. Los Angeles to Cancun may push you toward another airline. Las Vegas to Los Cabos may make Southwest look more obvious. The destination didn't change. The airline's priorities did. And when an airline moves its planes, the best option for your vacation can move with them. Family trips are expensive enough, and United is now giving some parents a way to squeeze more value out of tickets they were already buying. The miles don't magically follow your kid just because you paid for the ticket. Parents with an eligible United credit card can share certain cardholder perks with children under 18, but the child's Mileage Plus account has to be linked manually. Without the link, your kid may earn like a regular Mileage Plus member. With the link, eligible flights can earn at the cardholder rate potentially up to 6 miles per dollar instead of 3. They may also get at least 10% off eligible United operated award flights booked with miles. For one child on one short trip, maybe that doesn't sound exciting, but for a family that flies United even a few times, those miles can stack up quietly in the background. Think about a parent booking summer flights for 2 kids. The tickets are paid, the kids are flying anyway, the miles are sitting there. But unless the accounts are linked before the trip, some of that value never shows up. The setting lives inside your Mileage Plus profile, under Family, then Share Card Benefits. United allows up to 8 children under 18. Turn it on before the trip. Once the miles post, United isn't going to rewind the clock and reward you for a button you meant to click. No lounge access, no fancy seat, no tiny glass of orange juice with a napkin, just a few clicks that can make family travel a little less wasteful. At the time of writing this script, one of the splashiest travel offers is the Chase Sapphire Preferred 100,000 point bonus. On paper, it sounds great. New applicants can earn 100,000 Ultimate Rewards points after spending $5,000 in the first 3 months. For travelers, those points can be powerful because Chase lets you transfer them to major airline and hotel partners, including United and Hyatt. Used well, that can mean free flights, hotel nights, or a much cheaper trip than paying cash. But don't get blinded by the big number. A 100,000 point bonus is only a win if the spending requirement fits your normal life. If you have to force $5,000 of purchases, carry a balance, or pay interest just to earn the bonus, the free travel starts getting very expensive. Chase is also known for being strict with approvals, including the commonly discussed 524 guideline, which can affect people who've opened 5 or more credit cards in the last 24 months. This is where the math matters more than the marketing. Before applying, look at 3 things: whether you're likely to qualify, whether $5,000 in 3 months fits your normal spending, and whether you can pay the balance in full. Used carefully, this bonus can give the right traveler a serious head start toward a future trip. Used badly, it's just debt wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Most travelers don't need to follow airline news every day. Nobody is asking you to wake up, pour coffee, and read route filings like it's the morning paper. But before a trip, a few updates are worth knowing because they can change the way your travel day actually feels. They can decide whether security is smooth or annoying, whether your return from overseas feels faster or more confusing, whether a canceled flight in Europe becomes a total loss or a claim you know how to make, whether the nonstop you assumed still exists is actually gone, whether the points you're chasing are helping your trip or just giving your wallet a workout. That is the difference between airline news and useful travel news. One is industry noise, the other tells you what to check before you spend money, leave home, or stand in the wrong line. So I'm gonna ask you something different. What's one travel rule, fee, or airport change you wish someone warned you about sooner? Drop it in the comments. Your story might save another traveler from learning it the hard way. And if you want the airline updates that actually matter before your next trip, hit like, Subscribe to Airport now, and I'll see you in the next one.